Okay, welcome back to the channel. All right, so this is a 2002 Honda Civic, and it's been kind of giving me some issues, which is shifting kind of strange. And then this morning, I noticed it wouldn't shift hardly at all until it got to like 2,500 RPMs, or no, over 3,000 RPMs it would shift. So I'm thinking, man, there goes the transmission or something like that. I mean, the car's got a lot of miles on it. But once I put it in park, the idle was sitting at about 2,000. So I'm thinking, it might not be a transmission issue. It could be a throttle position issue, because the throttle position sensor sends the signal to the transmission for safe RPMs to switch at. It kind of communicates with the transmission computer. So when I plugged the computer in, I found a code, a P0122, throttle/pedal position sensor switch A circuit low. Okay, so that tells me that yes, there is something wrong with the throttle position sensor. So instead of spending $350 on the throttle body and another $250 on the throttle position sensor and another $200 on other switches and sensors, I went to the junkyard and I found one. So it's from a 2003, but it's filthy. So I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to get it ready to put in the car, and I'll see you guys when I'm about ready to put it in. So as you can see how dirty it is now, you'll see it in a minute where it's nice and clean. All right, I'll see you then. Okay, so as the car is cooling down, this gets me an opportunity to clean this up. All right, so the reason why I got one at a junkyard is I'm taking a chance. I really am. These, as you can see, are not replaceable. You know, you hear people drilling them out and screwing a new one in, but where do they get this part? They get it from either eBay or the junkyard. I would rather use a one from a real car rather than eBay. This looked fairly good. The car did not look abused in the junkyard, but look, as you can see, it's kind of dirty. I'm gonna clean that up with some brake parts cleaner, and I'm also going to re-oil the springs and things like that with a little bit of this Tri-Flow. It's called Tri-Flow. I've had it for years. It's really good stuff. But yeah, and also there is an adjustment on these. We will see how it is, and we'll go from there, because if it's a direct fit and it's good to go, then I'm gonna be okay. It can't get any worse than what's going on right now, so I may as well just use it. Plus, this looked like a recently replaced idle air. I think this is called an idle air control valve. It's got an input and an output for engine coolant. Also, I have a new O-ring. The O-ring goes around here. So it actually goes where the throttle body mates to the intake manifold. So I'm gonna clean this up and show you when I'm done. Okay, so the engine's still a little bit hot, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the air box off, and that'll allow for more cooling. One of the connectors is right here. I also have an 8mm that connects to the band clamp around the throttle body boot. Okay, it's underneath, you can barely see it. I also have a intake air temp sensor. Disconnect that, and once you gain access with these two bolts here, 1, 2, I think these are 10mm, or yeah, they're probably a 10mm. Okay, then pop this out of the way, and be careful. Don't forget to loosen the 8mm throttle body clamp underneath. Okay, I've gained access to the throttle body. It's still kind of hot. This is our problem right here, throttle body sensor. So go ahead and disconnect that. Inspect the wires. It could be a wiring issue, but mine's okay. We're gonna take this off. I'm not sure what that is. I think it's the, let's see. Okay, that's gonna be the evap control valve, evap purge control valve. The way I know that is because it's connected to the evap tube. All right, so that's gonna need to come loose. There's also an evap purge hose that goes into the throttle, I'm sorry, into the intake manifold, and also take this connector off. This is going to be your idle air control valve. Okay. Also, these are the two hoses I was waiting for them to be cooled down a little bit because they're connected to the cooling system. So they should be under a little bit of pressure. They might squirt out a little bit, but also throttle cables. So relieve pressure on the throttle and then disconnect. I don't know if you can see that. Disconnect that cable and let it come straight out. Just wiggle it straight out. All right, and the other one is connected similarly underneath. So relieve tension, and it goes right in there, so we can take that off. Good. Now I can safely take these two hoses off for the purge control valve. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Just be careful. They don't need a whole lot of coercing. They come right off. There you go. Pops right off. And the last two hoses are going to be here, but I need to get these four number 10 bolts. Actually 3 bolts and 1 nut. This nut over here is backwards, so I guess you can line it up. All we'll do is we'll go ahead and break that torque on these. One, and it's mounted into a plastic intake manifold, so be careful. We're gonna snug them back down later. There you go, they all came out good. All right, I'm just gonna finish taking these out, like so. I'm placing all my hardware up here. It's not gonna get lost that way. Okay, here we go. Taking them out. Right here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, last one is this nut. So be very careful with the nut. You don't want to drop it. And I hope I don't drop it. It's in kind of a weird spot. And here we go. Nut off. All right, good. Now next is pulling this up and out. Now remember, these are still connected. I kind of want, what I can do is I can connect everything right now while it's still hot. I can connect the new item, or the new throttle body, with the exception of these two hoses. But as you can see right here, can you see that? There's that O-ring. You do want to take care of that O-ring, put a new one in there. And I happen to have the new one right here. It only goes on one way. Inspect it, clean out a little bit of this throttle body. Take a look inside your throttle body, see if there's any like obvious crazy problems. Mine looks pretty good. I mean, the car's got a lot of miles on it. And it all looks pretty good in there. A little bit dirty, but ease it in there. Ease this gasket in there. Make sure it seats all the way around. And it fits perfect, right? Now what I'll do is I'll sink this new to me throttle body on here. Being careful to not mess up the new gasket I just put on there. I'm gonna place these nuts in, or the bolts in there, kind of loosely. until I find the hole for them. And there they are. Don't forget to switch this. All right, got that one. Let's get that nut started. Okay. Looking good. Okay. There, it bottomed out. I'm gonna go crisscross pattern, bottomed out. See how that one got loose once I bottomed the other two out? Okay, that one bottomed out. And that one bottomed out. All right, I'm gonna give it a little bit more. I'm sure there's a torque value on those. Remember, these are plastic, it's a plastic intake manifold, so you do not want to torque this really tight. The torque value is probably about 25 or 30 inch-pounds. And I have a calibrated hand. Just kidding. Anyway, I didn't tighten it very, very tight. Okay, so let's route our cables. I'm sorry, our tubing. Because the tube goes under the throttle cables. I'm gonna put the tube back on here. I inspected the tubes, they feel good. And I'm gonna place this tube down here on the other side of the purge control valve. It's seated nice. I'm gonna reconnect the purge control valve. I can go ahead and reconnect the throttle position sensor right there. I can reconnect the idle air control valve sensor and valve. Now, what I'm gonna do now is I have to put the cable back on this area right here. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, welcome back. So all the cables are good now. Just needed a little bit of coercing. It wasn't hard, it just took me a minute. All right, so what I did is I checked to see if there was any pressure left in my system, in the cooling system, by checking the cap, the radiator cap. Didn't find any, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take these two hoses off. So this particular one, as you can see, is the upper hose. We're gonna be careful. And we're gonna actually put the bottom hose on first, but we gotta take the top one off to get to the bottom one. And you see how that works. You be careful with these. They're on there kind of tight. And let's see if it squirts out at us. Not too bad. It's dribbling a little. Okay, just keep that up. Keep that up like that. Okay, let's get the other one done. Sometimes these are fun getting off. This one's proving to be a little fun. There we go. All right, so here's the part where we pull that one off. All right, I'm immediately putting it back on the new valve. I'm gonna keep my old throttle body, just in case. I don't know, just in case. I'm gonna keep it until I ops check it, and then I'm gonna turn it back into the junkyard because they're giving me $7 core credit on it. So what's cool about this throttle body is it was $36, and you know, when I get my $7 back, it's only gonna be $29 for all these parts, which in my opinion is a pretty good deal, especially if it works, and especially if it works for years. So there's a good chance. I had hoses just in case, but I had replaced these fairly recently, and I can tell. So let's put the air box on, and for reference, if you can see, there's that clamp I was talking about. Just make sure this goes in the right spot. As you can see, there's a divot here and a divot here, and those correspond to the metal. There's a metal thing here and a metal thing here, and they just kind of fit in there. So what we'll do is you have to fit this over the intake back here, and you have to get it in there. You have to get everything kind of like in there at the same time, being very careful about that intake boot because it's kind of delicate. There's another intake boot here, kind of a little breather valve. Get that on at the same time. You're doing like 3 things at once. We're gonna just kind of wiggle that on. I'm looking down inside to see if it's working, and it's good. And it's good there. Okay, everything's on. Make sure these clamps are good on your purge control valve. They look good. All right, last 2 things is going to be putting these back on and securing this clamp, and then we'll be able to test it to see if the code comes back, see if the drivability issues have solved themselves. It was having some strange problems. I suspected it was the throttle position sensor for a while, but I never really took action until today when it almost stranded me. I mean, it was acting really strange. Okay, I'm gonna snug those, and we're gonna tighten this boot back. This little 8mm. Don't forget that. Okay, it's snug. I'll give it a little bit extra. And let's see if it starts up good. It wasn't that long, was it? It was pretty easy. All right, let's test it out. Okay, so before I did this job, I cleared the codes. I'm kind of curious to see if it over revs. We'll see. It might like it. Looking good. Looking good. Let's see how I connected it. Now remember, the coolant system has an air bubble right there at the air intake, or I'm sorry, the idle air control valve. So once that fluid starts to warm up and circulate through there, it's going to behave a little bit different. Okay, so the engine light's on, so let's see what that's for. Plug my machine in there. Hopefully it's not for the throttle body. Oh, you know what? I forgot to connect the air intake temp sensor, didn't I? That's probably what it is. Let's read the code. Pending current code, probably air intake temp sensor. All right, let's clear that code and turn off and restart this test again. Okay, I reset the code. Here goes. Okay. All right, we'll take it for a test drive and see how it turns out. Sounds okay, but we'll see how it shifts. All right, I'll report back after I'm done. All right, so everything seems to work pretty good. No problems. It seems to behave a little bit better, seems to have a little bit more power, and that might be due to it. Now it knows the exact correct throttle position. So There you go. Hope you guys learned a lot. Hope you guys realize that you can fix an expensive problem like this for like 30 bucks. And you can do it yourself in less than, what did it take me, 30 minutes? So anyway, thanks for joining us on I Just Fix It Myself, and I'll post another video soon. Thanks. Bye.